one principle in my life that I live by is that I will never repeat the mistake of getting with a man who is already in a relationship or married, only for that man to like break up with their partner or divorce their partner just to be in a relationship with me. Because one, karma is a bitch, and two, what's to stop this man from doing the same exact thing to me? Let me tell you guys a story. Now, for the purposes of protecting the privacy of this person, I am not going to use his real name. I'm going to use a fictional name. But everything else in this story is real and not fictional. Now, this story is really long. I even, for the first time, had to write a script. But it's really long. I'm only just going to touch a little bit of the points that I need to make for this video. Just bear with me, but it's a really long story. So chances are I'm going to bring up other aspects of what this relationship was with this person later on in other videos. But for now, these are the things I'm going to tell you are what matter in this story. Right? Now let's get into it. Now, when did I meet Ken? We are going to call this guy Ken. When did I meet Ken? It was in 2020, lockdown time. You know, all of us are home chilling and all these other things. But I met him through a friend who, before I met Ken, had always told me about him. Like he would always cavalierly bring his name up in conversations, and it's good, hype up your friend, hype up your birthday and all that stuff. But he brought him up so much in conversations that I felt intrigued to find out who this person is. Of course, later on, this Ken guy and I would eventually start to like talk casually here and there, and he would, I think I would talk to my friend, and he would join the call at some point. So we didn't like officially exchange numbers as yet. He would usually find my friend on a call with me and like tap in and all that stuff, right? But of course, slowly by slowly, I got to know him even before we had an official long conversation. And I got to find out that Ken is charming. I was about to say chivalrous, but then I recalled, nada, that guy was not chivalrous. Charismatic, he was very friendly, flirtatious, which by the way was a red flag, might I add, and altogether good, right? We chatted a few times, of course, and we eventually started talking in July. But keep in mind that even though the first time I got to like talk to him was in March, like know about him and like kind of cavalierly talk to him was in March, I officially started like chatting with him in July. But in between that time, I remember in my birthday in June, I remember he texted me and he even followed me on a lot of my socials, and he DM'd me on IG wishing me happy birthday, even though I didn't have a phone, which he knew because of course my friend knew. And he what? He sent me a happy birthday message on Facebook. He posted on his timeline, happy birthday and all that stuff. And, it was good stuff. I was going through a hard time, but, he was there to kind of make things feel a little better, right? But we started talking in July when I had gotten a phone. And I remember I was on IG and I was like, oh, by the way, Ken exists. Let me text him. So I hit him up. And at the time, IG was not this type of IG where you spend like a long time on the app because, IG rules and stuff. At least for me, that's what I knew. So when I texted him, I expected him to like reply back like a week later. But when he replied that very second, I was like taken aback. I was like, wow, he has responded in record time. What? So we went on to chat. I remember it was even at night, and we went on to like chat throughout the night. And I remember I was laughing. He was making me laugh. And you guys, let me tell you, as women, when we laugh at your jokes, trust that there are feelings that are going to come right after that. The moment the laughters kick in and it's more than just one giggle and it's just continuous laughing, feelings. So it's safe to say my feelings started at that time. So yeah, went on, officially exchanged numbers, and we started texting. But of course, we didn't over text of back and forth every other day. That only happened later on in September after him and I had met physically, officially. They were at a photo shoot, and I was like, you know what, let me go and hang out with these guys. And it was interesting. It was nice. So he also, I think, eventually found out that I was also interesting at that time. So yeah, because we now started texting back and forth more frequently. And now you would assume that by texting back and forth all the time, by this time the conversations start to get candid. Now he eventually asked me the $1 million question, which is, why are you single? Or are you single? Okay, just ask me, why am I single? Because I remember, I think I had kind of brought it up at some point. And that is when I told him why I was single. Told him that, because of my parents' situation, they were not together, divorced and all that stuff. It kind of like skewed my view towards relationships. Like, I feel like a lot of the friends that I had at that time weren't these friends who were here for a long time. They were more here for a good time, right? And I remember telling him that that is how a lot of my friendships are. And I'm really terrified of making new friends, entering relationships, because, I fear that the moment they come in and things get too real, they're going to jump ship. Now, guys, tell me why this nigga went on to say this. And I'm directly quoting because I will never forget the words he said. Because, guys, trust that I latched onto those words with my very very life. He told me, and I quote, that I am not like the others. You watch the space. I am going to stay. I'm not leaving. Even if things get hard, me, I'm staying. I'm doing what? And at that time I was naive. By then, people were not so fond of making promises to me that I would believe. And remember, in my previous video, I told you guys that my phone was stolen and I was kind of in a between a rock and a hard place with my family. And even though my twin brother was on my side, I imagine it was a very tough line for him to walk, having to like be on my side and also not be in like a bad relationship with a family that was already seeing me as sort of a black sheep because of the whole phone accident and the scam and everything, right? And even my relationship with my father at that time was difficult. It was terrible. It was not good. So when he made that promise, you guys, I swear at that time I was in desperate need of someone other than a family member to be on my side for once in my life. And he very much presented himself as that kind of person. So I lashed onto those words, and essentially my feelings like now grow to, yeah, they advanced at that point because I was like, oh, I finally found my personal person. You guys, I'm just going to pause here right now and say that Lizzo once sang and said, why men great till they have to be great? And guys, those lyrics sounded really true when I started to notice the way these relationships quickly started to turn sour. But before I get to the part where it turned sour, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of a TMI. Now, yeah, after we met physically, he started kind of putting on that whole persona of, yeah, come see me, man, come and visit me. I stay in this place, come and visit me. Now, oh, the good thing was that he didn't stay so far away from home, so I didn't need to even like pay 10K on a border to go. Like an easy 2K, 3K could have landed me at his place. I could walk, but it was kind of a distance, even though it was near home. So when he talked about, come and see me and all these things, I felt like, oh, this is an opportunity. But although, remember, I was in a sixth vacation at that time, and I was a little bit naive in the mind. So I remember trying to like avoid meeting him and all these other things. Because already my feelings were growing. And with feelings growing, there were tingling sensations down there. So TMI, I know TMI. But there were tingling sensations down there. So, and I remember that time I was even reading Wattpad novels so much. So imagine the fantasy life I was already imagining for myself as a person. I'm a girl. I'm a woman. And things happen. So he would invite me, but I remember declining because I would fear that, going to visit my friend and whatnot was against my father's code of rules, right? But then one time I got an opening, I got a window, and I was like, you know what? It's time to like go and see this guy and get this over with and do all that stuff. So I said, what? Let me go. So when I got the window, I went. And guys, that should have been the first red flag where he was telling me to go and visit him at his place. Because which man who is sensible would say that? I'm saying sensible. Guys, a sensible man would have said, would you like to go out on a date? Get to know each other more? That is a sensible person. Someone who invites you to their place? Nonsense, cancel that stuff. May that kind of love never find you. Anyway, I went to his place. And surprise, surprise, what happened? One thing led to another, and because we are adults, we made out. But things didn't get too, how do they call it, frisky? Yeah, because I know better. But yeah, things didn't get any that frisky. We just made out like that and moved on. And you know, you guys, I was in a very vulnerable place. I was depressed, having a very difficult relationship with my father, and this guy was presenting himself. I remember the next day I was like on cloud nine because, oh my God, I'm going to quote Asha's song. He's such a good kisser. And I remember I was like, oh shit, this guy, what? Anywho, I did what? I was like that for like the few days. But then I was like, buzz. Because I'm up until this moment, one of the reasons why I wasn't in a relationship was I know myself. I'm not lucky. I'm not that lucky to find someone who is charming, and not to mention also good looking, charismatic, and all these so many good things, and he's single. For me, very unlikely. So tell me why, after that bell went on in my mind, that red alert went on in my mind, I decided to go down a rabbit hole I shouldn't have and found out that the nigga was dating someone else. You guys, I would have said heartbroken, but the heartbreak would come on later. This is the part of the story where things start to get sour. Because when I found out, and he even hadn't told me, I was very disappointed. But I said, you know what? I'm not going to go to him and attack him. I'm going to let him come to me with the truth. Fast forward to a few months later, after the elections and everything, that whole ruckus had happened, and he texts me with SMS, guys, SMS, and tells me I've been dating. I'm like, you guys, I remember I was traveling back in a taxi coming back home after buying books for my little brother to take to school. I remember reading that text and my heart broke in a million pieces. But then as I was in the taxi, as it was sloping to the gate of my home, I was like, why am I even heartbroken? Because I knew this day would come. Why do I even feel heartbroken? And I shouldn't feel heartbroken because I don't feel entitled to this man in the first place. He was never mine to begin with. Why do I feel bad? But I swallowed that pain because, guys, remember what? This man made a promise and I was holding on to that promise for dear life. I was holding on to it like I was holding on for dear life. So I said, it's okay. I muddled through the pain. I went on. But I remember him saying something along the lines of, what? How could she cheat? It's all wasted time. I was like, how could she cheat? You want to come here? In my mind, at that time, I only said it in my mind because I didn't have any standard. And I feared that if I said something like that, that was going to be the end of that relationship. And this man was not going to fulfill his promises to me. So in my head, I was like, what? You know, you're not innocent, right? You're not innocent because even you on the side, you've also been cheating with me. And you guys, I felt so guilty because this woman had never done anything wrong to me in my life for her to deserve this kind of treatment. She had never. We'd never even met physically. She had never known my name. But I did that to her and I felt guilty. But you guys, I swallowed that guilt because of this man's promises that I was holding on to. I said, no, it's okay. I'm going to. Oh. Anyway, of course, I think a few months later, eventually, I gave up my virginity to this guy. Again, I said TMI. So if you find this triggering, by all means, leave the video. But my virginity, this guy took it. And you know, when something like that happens, your feelings grow as a woman. So my feelings for him were now solid. They were there. I was like, oh, if we've now advanced to this stage, things are good. Wrong. Things were not at all good. Of course, a little bit of a time, some time passed, and he started to grow cold, sour, and altogether bad things. He was just becoming everything I had ever feared. But you guys, I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave because I was waiting for this man to fulfill his promises. Meanwhile, my depression was getting worse at this time. My relationship with my father was way worse. And I even remember I'd even left home at that time because things were really bad. But then I remember even at some point I contemplated, I started to actually contemplate leaving this guy, but I don't know why, I just couldn't. And surprise, surprise, the guy started going and flirting around with another woman. Guess what? Anyway, long story short, that relationship landed me in rehab, and it was effectively the end of that relationship. I'm saying quotes because even though I say it ended, it didn't really end. But this is where that story is going to stop. Now, of course, I would later find out that he found another girlfriend, or even the one with whom he was whatever, quote unquote, cheating on me with, because it was more a situationship than it was a real relationship. But even the woman he was with, apparently he cheated on her. Then he got with someone, she cheated on him. Then he went and he cheated on her. And it just from what I've heard, I cannot confirm for sure. From what I've heard, and it just looked like it became this entire cycle of cheating and cheating for him. Anyway, as I end this video, why am I telling you guys this story? Is that if you're a woman and you're in the same situation as I have been, or you're with a man who is already in another relationship, I'm going to tell you as your sister and your bestie, it is not worth it. First of all, it is not worth it because your heart is going to break, your esteem is going to go low. And even though you mask it and you try to be confident, it is going to sting. Even though you're a woman and you're in a relationship, please do not go with another man. And if you're a man and you're in a relationship and you're cheating on your partner, just end every relationship you have and have some self-reflection. Be honest about what you actually want. Take time to have some self-discovery. And when you get out of a relationship, guys, don't immediately jump into another one. My goodness, take your time. Take your sweet time. Right? And also, my darling women, sometimes even men, by the way, all of us, I'm talking to everyone, and not just women, we sometimes fall prey to being in relationships with people who are already with someone else without knowing, innocently, without knowing. A therapist once told me that it isn't such a bad thing to do your research and find out about who this person is. Go down the rabbit hole. If it hurts, it should hurt, but it saves you in the long run. Don't be like me and end up in rehab. It's not good. If you're on your file, it's always going to show that you were once in rehab. It isn't good. People have a certain stigma they attach to rehab. So you don't want to be like me. I'm saving you. Also, if you know someone who is in this situation, send them this episode, man. So maybe they learn a thing or two, because sharing is caring. So yeah, kindly. I know women sometimes get into relationships with men who are already like married or in other relationships because of money and so many other things. But I'm telling you again, I want to repeat, it is just not worth it. Anyway, I'll see you guys in another episode. Ciao, Bella. Bye.